And you guys are the first ever Oregon band to make it all the way out here to Grand Nationals. How does that feel to just represent the state in that way?
It's pretty amazing. We kind of got the bug a few years back. We started competing in Bands of America regionals, first with the Tacoma Regional in Washington, and then California. And the parents last year was pretty cute because they just didn't really realize. They're like, well, can we go to Grand Nationals now? Like last year, 2 weeks before Grand Nationals, they were asking me, can we go to Grand Nationals? Like, it really doesn't work that way. So it started the conversation. And last January, we decided to go ahead and apply. Let's see what happens. We got accepted, and then the boosters met, and they decided, let's do this. Let's go. Let's be the first group. Let's represent Oregon, and then from there, it's been a fundraising circus. I mean, it's about $2,000 per student. We flew out Wednesday. Our semi truck had to leave a week before, so last Saturday. So it was a pretty epic journey for our group, and a very expensive group, but I think already since we've been here, it's been rather rewarding.
Do you mind telling me a little bit about the whole trip?
Sure. Our last rehearsal was it's basically Friday night, and with our equipment. Friday night, November 2nd was our last rehearsal and performance, and then the football game. And then Saturday morning we loaded, November 3rd we loaded the semi-truck, sent it on its way. And then we had to borrow all of the equipment that was going to go on that semi-truck. We had to borrow that equipment from all of our local high schools in Salem Kaiser School District. And so we borrowed all that equipment and had rehearsal that Saturday, had a rehearsal Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday morning, November 7th, we flew out 2 different planes and landed. We had some rehearsal at Grand Park on Thursday. We went to Avon High School and had some rehearsal. And then today we rehearsed at the convention center. And it's been a pretty amazing journey, not just from the sense of like travel, but to see these students kind of grow up in front of your eyes. Some of them never have been on a plane before. About 25% of the group, I was asking like, who's never been on a plane before? And I thought, you're kidding me. So like just the kiosks and everything, just checking into the plane, it was watching them go through that the first time was pretty awesome.
You had some success earlier this season at regional, small regional, Northern California?
Yes.
Yeah, and you guys won the regional. How far have you come since then, even though you started on a strong point?
The last 3 weeks of the season, we've been basically tailoring our show for Lucas Oil. Balancing to the percussion, getting our electronics balanced, making sure we're ready for this environment as much as possible.
How did you do that? I'm just curious.
Basically a lot of thinning out of the percussion book, because most of our shows in the Northwest are outside. They're all California, they're all outside. So we basically had to tone down our battery percussion a little bit, just balance-wise, some things softer, some things completely out. Rebalance some brass things to the woodwinds so the woodwinds could be more transparent in this environment. And then trying to get them to communicate with a bigger sound, fuller sound, more emotional sound, because this is a big environment to fill up.
So let's talk about the show. Could you starting with the title, tell me kind of how the show progresses from start to finish?
So at West Salem, we've played a lot of John Mackey's music. We've actually had John Mackey out to do kind of a composer in residence program with us in the spring, a couple years ago. And he's actually here. He flew in for the performance today. So he'll be around tomorrow too if you want to interview him as well. But so we've been a pretty huge fan of his music. And when we decided to come to Grand Nationals, this is kind of the show I was thinking of. This would be a great fit for our program. We know that music well. It would be different than most of what you see here at Bands of America. And it would fit our type of philosophy, which is we move and play a lot. We have a lot of simultaneous responsibility, and we kind of hang our hat on that. And so we wanted to go with that show. So we picked the Wine Dark Sea and kind of focused around the storyline, the part of the Wine Dark Sea where he gets wrecked onto an island. He forgets who he is. Calypso kind of nurses him back to health. They fall in love. They're together for 7 years. And then all of a sudden, he wakes up and realizes he has a wife back home that he has to get to and a kid. And he tells her he has to go back to his first true love. And then she actually helps him build the sail that gets him back. So we're kind of telling that story through the 3 movements of The Wine Dark Sea by John Mackey. So we have the bloody ocean panels. We have wrecked ship props everywhere with tattered sails. We have white lights on top of the masts, and then they turn to red right at the big moment where the flags shoot out of the props at kind of the big impact toward the end. So we're kind of telling that emotional story where he's got the journey and there's a wreck and then he falls in love and has to go back and there's that tension in the ballad and then the closer is kind of we're back where he's got to sail back home and Zeus strikes down more demons trying to get him to. So you'll hear the swirling demons around the ship, all the knocking on the drums in the ship, like the demons knocking on the sides of the ship, swirling around the ship, and we make it back. It's kind of an epic ending.
There's a lot of emotion tied to that whole story, obviously. Yes. How do you get that, get the performers to rise up to that occasion and really sell it?
Tell them about the story. We told them about the story a lot. We try to make it relevant to their own personal life, either relationships they have, either with their family or boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever that is, to try to tie it into how that would feel. How would that feel if you were completely in love with someone and then you woke up one day and realized you had a wife and a child back home and you got your memory back and then you have to leave this person that you love and care for, and yet there's all this torment that you got to go back and you got to sail back through that wine dark sea again. So we just tell the kids the story. We tell them, try to make it relevant, and we do a lot of John Mackey music in our wind ensemble program. So they're kind of used to that flavor and used to those storylines that go along with a lot of his music that him and his wife come up with, the plots, if you will, or what the programmatic aspects of his works.
So moving out of today, you just had a great performance. Crowd went nuts for you guys, being the first band from Oregon, obviously. What's next from here? You're moving out. What's going on tonight? And hopefully we'll get to see you again tomorrow.
So we're taking things back to the convention center for storage, going back to the hotel, changing, heading to a group dinner, and then we're going to come back and watch the rest of prelims and cheer on our drum majors for the preliminary awards, and hopefully we make it into semifinals, and then tomorrow we'll find out the schedule and start planning either another rehearsal and how they can do better than they did today. I think today they did great for their first performance run in this environment, but they still have another couple gears to go. Emotionally communicative, just sheer volume and passion. They have another gear they can give. They just have to know that it's okay for them to go that far, to communicate that intensity, on another level, another gear or two. And you can kind of hear it at the very end in today's run. It's like they started they finally got comfortable with the environment on their last note. And it was a really solid run, but they have another gear they can give. So I'm hoping we get that opportunity tomorrow.